If you have ever been to Umuogu market, you would know Mama Nkechi. Everybody knew her. She was one of the wealthiest traders in our village, not because she had the biggest shop, but because she was wise with money. She traded in foodstuffs, bags of rice, beans, and dried fish from the riverbank traders, but her real business was lending money. Mama Nkechi had a simple rule: I help people who help themselves. She would loan money to struggling traders, but only those she believed would pay back. If you came to her with a story that didn't make sense, she would look at you over her glasses, shake her head, and say, I was not born yesterday. It was on one dry harmattan morning that the problem started. A young man called Ifoni came to Mama Nkechi, begging for a loan. He had just returned from the city, where he had tried to hustle, but things had not worked out. Now, he wanted to start a palm oil business in the village. His words were sweet, and his voice was smooth like melted shea butter. Mama Nkechi, I swear on my mother's grave, in 3 months I will return your money. Mama Nkechi looked at him carefully. She was getting old and had promised herself that this would be her last loan before retiring. The money wasn't much, 50,000 naira, but it was still money. Ifoni, do not make me regret this, she said as she handed him the money. He nodded quickly. Mama, you will see. By this time next month, I will bring back double. 1 month passed, then 2, no sign of Ifoni. At first, Mama Nkechi was patient. She sent one of the young boys in the market to check his house. The boy came back shaking his head. Mama, his door is locked. Some people say he traveled again. Mama Nkechi felt a tightness in her chest. Traveled where? She muttered. The next day, she tied her wrapper tightly around her waist and went to see Ifoni's mother. The old woman sat outside her hut, chewing bitter kola. Mama Ifoni, where is your son? Nkechi asked, her voice sharp. The woman sighed. My sister, I wish I knew. That boy has not come home in weeks. If you see him before I do, tell him I will break his legs. That was when Mama Nkechi knew she had been played. Some women would have left the matter to God, but Mama Nkechi never. She called her nephew, Chigazi, a tall, hot-tempered boy who worked as a motorcyclist. Take me to Onitsha, she commanded. The journey was rough, the roads dusty, but Mama Nkechi was determined. She had heard that Ifoni was in the city, moving from one cheap lodge to another, dodging debts. She was ready for him. When they reached Onitsha, she made inquiries, asking about Ifoni in the local markets. People whispered, but finally, one woman pointed to a beer parlor. Check there, he comes at night. Mama Nkechi waited. As the sun dipped low, the streetlights flickered, and the smell of roasted corn and suya filled the air. Then, just as she was beginning to doubt the trip, she saw him. Ifoni strode into the beer parlor like a man who had no worries in the world. Mama Nkechi wasted no time. She marched inside, grabbed a bottle from the table, and slammed it down. The whole place went silent. Ifoni, you think you can eat my money and disappear? The young man's face lost all color. He stammered, looking at the people around him for help. Mama Nkechi, I was coming to see you next week. She cut him off. Next week? I will show you next week today. With one swift motion, she grabbed his shirt and pulled him outside. The people in the beer parlor cheered as she dragged him through the streets. That night, Ifoni was forced to call his friends and family. By morning, he had gathered half of the money. Within a week, he had paid back every last kobo. When she returned to the village, she made an announcement. I am done lending money. My heart is still strong, but my bones are weak. Let the young ones handle these thieves. From that day, she focused only on her shop. If you wanted a loan, you had to go somewhere else. But till today, whenever people tell the story of Ifoni and how he was dragged through the streets of Onitsha by an old woman, they shake their heads and say, do not mess with Mama Nkechi.